All right, another day and another question of whether or not a police department has the ability to fire an officer or otherwise discipline an officer for his speech. We are talking today about Deputy Marshal Nate Silvester, who posted a TikTok video in response to a tweet made by LeBron James in which LeBron had a hot take on the Ma'Khia Bryant officer-involved shooting. I know that's a mouthful. We're going to talk about all of this, and then we'll get to the important questions of whether they can actually discipline and or fire Nate Silvester for this. I'm Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. I'm a lawyer, but I'm also a legal and political commentator here on YouTube. If you like that stuff, if you like these topics, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, send it out to your friends, send it to your mom, whatever you need to do. I don't want you or anyone else to miss any videos, okay? All right, so let's break this down in reverse order. A little while back, there was an officer-involved shooting of a minor by the name of Ma'Khia Bryant. Ma'Khia Bryant was in the process of attempting to stab another minor when an officer arrived on scene and put a stop to that via deadly force. He shot Ma'Khia Bryant several times as she was literally in mid-swing with a knife on another minor individual. So the police officer did shoot Ma'Khia Bryant, and those shots ended up being fatal. Okay. Now, of course, the immediate response of this was in the wake of the Derek Chauvin, George Floyd trial that was going on. In the wake of that, the immediate response is officer shoots black teenager. And that became sort of the clarion call of Twitter, as it of course is. Now, very quickly, the details for this were released and people could see that this was pretty obviously a justified use of deadly force. I'm sorry, police officers have an almost blanket ability to use deadly force to prevent the act of deadly force being committed on someone else. And in this case, when you have someone mid-swing with a knife, the officer using his firearm to end that situation is almost a guaranteed justified shoot. That's how it goes. People may not like it. I personally am not a huge fan of the state ending the life of a citizen, and I think all of them should be dealt with a high level of scrutiny and public criticism. This one, however, is pretty straightforward. If he doesn't shoot the one person, they stick a knife into another person, and that is not something that we tend to allow in polite society. That being said, LeBron James had his hot take about this. He made a tweet about it. He has since deleted the tweet, suggesting that other people use that tweet to sow racial hatred. I would humbly suggest that LeBron's tweet was doing that well enough on its own. However, he got a ton of backlash, a lot of heat for it, and he has deleted the tweet in response. Now, then along comes Deputy Marshal Nate Silvester, and he posts a TikTok video. And the image next to me here is, right over here, is him from the video. So this is what the video looks like, and that's going to be relevant to our analysis of whether or not he can be fired over this, okay? He is clearly in a uniform. He might be in a squad car. It's a little bit hard to tell from the framing of this shot whether he's in a squad car or not, but he is in a police uniform. So in the video, what he does is he makes a fake phone call to LeBron James. He pretends he is arriving at a similar situation where one person is about to stab another person, and he, of course, phones a celebrity for advice on how to handle the situation. It's very comedic. It's a biting satire of present reality in which celebrities who have zero credibility, either from training or from demonstrated knowledge, will spout off about highly complex topics like use of force to people who are engaged in use of force topics and discussions all of the time. People like lawyers, judges, or police officers who are on the front lines of those use of force questions. He is mocking the idea that some guy who has played basketball and made millions of dollars has any concept of what kind of decisions go into a use of force question when someone is actively trying to stab someone else. So he makes the video and he points out some of the nonsense that LeBron was talking about. That's the joke. It's a great gag. It's biting commentary, but it's also very relevant to right now, where every officer involved shooting is being treated as if they are all criminal acts. And the reality is that most officer involved shootings are justified. There are, of course, bad shootings that occur. I'm not going to go through and name some of the higher profile ones. It doesn't really matter. There are always going to be mistakes or bad actors or some combination of both. Ma'Khia Bryant wasn't one. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion. That was the right decision. So he is criticizing LeBron here. Now, this is also very relevant to the analysis. So, okay, I've given you a lot of background. I'm babbling on. Let's talk about whether or not they can discipline this guy. Okay, they have already suspended him without pay. The question is now whether he will get to keep his job or not. That's a decision that will be made by the Idaho Marshal's office, I suppose. But let's look at how the courts look at this, because there is actually a series of tests to determine whether or not the First Amendment protects a government official who is speaking. Right? Everybody has First Amendment protections, and when the government is making an employment or a punitive decision, they have to comport with the First Amendment. And the Supreme Court has determined a series of questions to figure out whether or not this is justified. I talked about this the other day. We're going to talk about it again. That was in relation to a police officer who made an anonymous donation to Kyle Rittenhouse's defense fund. All right? This is clearly a different category of thing altogether. So here we have the first question. Is this officer acting in his official capacity when he's making this TikTok video? My answer to that question is no. Now, I could be wrong. That's my argument. And if he retains a lawyer to fight with this or whatever, that's the argument the lawyer's going to make too. He's not acting in his official capacity. Now, how we break this argument down is what says he is. Well, we know he is in uniform, right? He is in uniform, and I'm going to assume that that is his official uniform that he wears. It's got his name on it. It's got a badge. It says police. He's got a blue line flag on there. He's got a gun. He's got a body cam. He's got his radio. I don't see any reason to assume that this is a fake uniform or anything like that. It may be, but I'm going to assume it's his real uniform. So he's in his real uniform. What else do we have to indicate that he's acting in his official capacity? Nothing. There's nothing else. Now, the city has said that this is not an appropriate use of the officer invoking the city's name or on city time. He may be recording this video while on the clock. Don't know. Does that make it his official capacity? Does his wearing of a uniform make it an official capacity? Arguments against this are pretty straightforward. His job is not to make TikTok videos. That's not what he does. That's not how he acts. That's not typically, unless he's a social media manager for the department, which I don't think he is. His job is probably not to create TikTok content on behalf of the police force. So I don't see how making a TikTok video is within his official duties. He's not currently arresting someone. He's not in pursuit. He is not filming a documentary on behalf of the police department. He's just doing a TikTok video. Seems to be on his own. Now, it might be on city time. That doesn't automatically make it part of your official duties. Just because you are on the clock, think about your own workplace. Is everything you do while on the clock at work part of your official job duties? Of course not, right? This could be on a lunch break or a smoke break. We have no idea. So I'm not going to say yes or no. The city will have to prove that out if he was on company time, and I'm sure they'll have arguments for that if this, of course, goes before any sort of tribunal. But right now, that's the first argument, is this in his official capacity? There are arguments that it is. He's in his uniform. He may be on company time, company being the city, the government. But arguments against it are similar. This doesn't look anything like regular police work. We don't know if he's in a squad car. We don't know. He's certainly not on an actual crime scene. So I'm going to say no. And when we say no, when they are not acting in their official capacity, we move on to the next question. If he's acting in his official capacity, he has zero protection for free speech. There isn't any. That's the reality here. Official speech in official capacity is not protected by the First Amendment. Okay, so next we move to question 2. If the employee was speaking as a private citizen, the next question is their speech in regards to a matter of public concern? Or is it a matter of private concern? If it's a matter of private concern, no protection. No First Amendment protection at all. They have to be speaking on a matter of public concern. The Ma'Khia Bryant shooting, LeBron James's tweet, all of this is national news. LeBron James's tweet was national news. This is clearly a matter of public concern. It goes to the very hearts of race-related police interactions over the past several years, how they have been escalating, how they have been interpreted, how they've been commented on. This is quintessential public concern speech. And it's involving the actions of police officers. So even if the topic itself were not in the social zeitgeist, we're not a major news talking point right now. Even if that were true, we're talking about the actions of police officers in these situations. He's making a commentary about police decision-making in deadly force situations. So I would still rate this as a matter of public concern. If it is a matter of public concern that he's talking about, we're going to move on to the next issue. And I really don't think there's any argument that this is not a matter of public concern that he's talking about. I don't think the city could seriously make a legitimate argument to the contrary. They'll try, but I don't think it'll be very effective. On to the third one. And this is this is a doozy of a test, because what does this mean is a hard question. But if a government employee was speaking as a private citizen on a matter of public concern, next we have to ask whether the government's employer's interest in efficiently fulfilling its public services is impaired by the speech. Whether the government employer's responsibility to efficiently deliver public service is impaired by the speech. I don't see how on earth this could achieve that. Call me crazy, but I don't see how a TikTok video making fun of LeBron James being dumb with a satirical take about a police officer showing up to a stabbing in process and calling a celebrity to find out if it's okay, if the police officer has permission from the celebrity to stab based on current cultural, or to shoot the stabber based on current cultural norms. I don't see how that has anything to do with efficient policing, but I can make the argument. And the argument would be that this erodes the level of trust between the police department and members of the African American community, specifically based on some of the things he said, based on the Ma'Khia Bryant situation involving a white officer, 2 black teenagers, and of course, based on the fact that LeBron James is black and speaking to this issue of racial-related policing. That is going to be the argument. I don't think it's a good one, but that is the argument. I don't think that the public at large has any sort of change in the efficient delivery of public service from the Idaho Marshal's Office than they're already getting based on this TikTok video. So to me, I think this guy should be protected in his speech. I don't know him. I don't care about him. He has made some other videos about policing. This is something that he does. I don't know if those videos just didn't go viral, so they didn't get the attention. I don't know if those videos had right think as opposed to wrong think. I'm not sure what the status of that is. I'm not sure why this one is so triggering, but based on the 3-factor analysis that courts use here, to me, I say he is not they're not grounds for discipline of this officer. Officers are allowed to they're allowed their free speech too, just like everybody else. That doesn't go away. You don't get to give away all of your rights. Some level of rights must be protected. Now, government officials do have reduced First Amendment rights. That is true. That's recognized by all of these tests that we just went through. You and I wouldn't have the same test. If the government tried to punish me or you for your speech, we would not have to go through and prove out those different elements. We would have a much broader protection. So, heading off all of the arguments that might come in the comments that say, well, he doesn't have the full protection of the First Amendment because he's a government employer, because he's a police officer. I know that's what the tests are supposed to weed out already. And I don't think in this issue that they weed out his activity. But you are free to disagree with me, and I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. On a closing note for this, there is a GoFundMe, and I will post both the GoFundMe and the article down in the description below. If you want to go to them, fine. If you don't, fine. I'm not endorsing the GoFundMe. I'm not saying people should donate. I have not donated to this guy's GoFundMe or anything like that. I just want to point out how the people are reacting to this. He has now, in just a couple days, 2 days ago, raised over $200,000, and he is going to be using some of the funds, according to the GoFundMe, to help out other officers and their families when they are in some sort of similar situation. But this is what's going on right now. You can read about the entire situation from the perspective of the organizer on the GoFundMe, and it has some interesting takes and updates. So they have recently updated the goal to $500,000. It was originally started at, I think, $100,000. They obviously blew past that and $200,000. Now they're on the way up from there. So that's what it is. That's where this is. If you want to check it out, go ahead. I hope you enjoy the video. If you did, share it around. Thanks for watching. Until next time, peace. Peace.